Class is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Ready to go. Can we start the meeting, please? I would like to call the mid-monthly tribal council meeting to order at 5:01 p.m. And I would like to ask Councilman LaRose if he would kindly say our prayer this evening.
I'm having trouble with my voice today. God, hear our prayer. We come to you and seek guidance as we deal with problems in the tribe. We ask that you bless our families, bless the tribe, take care of our young men and women serving in the military. And most of all, take care of our children and this vicious pandemic that's stretching across our country. We thank you for the blessings you give us.
Louis, since I can't see your full face, I'm just not sure when you're done.
Yes, we ask. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Louis. I'm not sure if
Thank
Tori.
you, Louis, for offering that blessing on our behalf. Council, we have an agenda that's been prepared for us this evening, and we have some additions that we received by email. One of those additions is the resolution 21-141A, and that can go under old business. I'm adding parent fan bus to number 5 under tribal council items. I'm adding number 6 under tribal council items, Indigenous Peoples Day, October 11th at Lincoln, Nebraska. I'd like to have a discussion with council on the drum group, the color guard, applique, exhibition dancing, and our powwow princesses that we'd like to invite. And so for discussion, and are there other thoughts the council may have? Are there any other additions to the agenda? Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I don't think Tori can hear people. We might have to get that checked into.
Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you guys now. I couldn't.
Okay. Yeah.
So do we have a motion?
Yeah, I move that. Can you hear me?
Thank you, Brian. Do we have a second? Louis, are you seconding? I didn't know if that was your hand or.
Yeah, I seconded it.
Okay, thank you. Discussion. Objection to the motion. The vote may be 6-0-0. Lorelei, is that correct? 7-0-0? Okay.
It's 6-0-0, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Our first order of business is the September 7th, 2021 regular tribal council meeting minutes. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes? Got something in the chat here.
John, motion to approve.
Thank you, John. Do we have a motion by John? Do we have a second? Calling for a second for the September 7 minutes approval.
I seconded it.
Second by Louis. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 6-0-0. Our second set of minutes are the September 8th Special Tribal Council Enrollment Meeting Minutes. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve, John.
We have a motion by John. Thank you. Do we have a second? Second by discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 6-0-0. Our third set of minutes are the September 13th, 2021 CEO report meeting minutes. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
We got a motion by Louis. Do we have a second? Second by Rona. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 6-0-0. General Council meeting, September 15th, 2021. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Brian. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Louis. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 6-0-0. All right, we're into the ratification of our 5 signatures. The first one is a donation of $600 to cover food for the Boys and Girls Club to the Nebraska Cornhuskers game. The donation actually ended up being $600.41. Is there a motion to ratify that 5 signature?
So moved.
Motion by Brian, second.
Second.
Second by Louis. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 6-0-0. Second one. What's that?
Looking at all the name, oh, I had to scroll up and see how many names are in there since nobody shares their camera. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
It's 7-0-0.
It's 7 in the meeting, but 6 voting, Madam Chair.
Okay. Thank you.
8. That was the only one gone.
Yeah, I agree with Rona.
So the vote is 7-0-0.
I didn't see Coley came in.
Alrighty, thank you. We've got the motion and 7-0-0. Motion to ratify the Indian Housing Block Grant, abbreviated is in Indian Housing Plan. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Louis. Do we have a second? Do we have a second?
Second, Coley.
Second by Coley. Thank you, Coley. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 7-0-0. Last one, approve the additional selection of alternates for the 2021 election board. Do we have a motion? Motion by Brian,
Second.
second by Louis. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 7-0-0. Under new business, we have approved changes to the abbreviated Indian Housing Plan. So that's in line with the 5 signature. So can we just get a motion to accept the changes, please?
So moved.
We have a motion by Louis. Do we have a second? Do we have a second for the approve the changes to the abbreviated Indian Housing Plan?
Second by Coley.
Second by Coley. Thank you, Coley. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 7-0-0. We have adopt resolution for the NCAI membership. We had previously approved the membership, but it requires a resolution. So in this resolution, we have that prepared. And in what was up for discussion still was the second delegate. Previously, Ann Downs had filled that position, and Ann is no longer, actually, Ann has taken a recess of some sort from her former position. And so I had asked at the HCI board meeting if HCI would be requesting a different delegate stand in for Ann, and I didn't get an answer on that, but the reason for that was in the event that somebody from the tribe didn't attend, that they would be there to vote for the tribe. And so we can proceed as is. I don't, if there's council members, if the vice would like to be our alternate delegate, it's up for discussion. I'm just sharing what I was trying to see if was still of interest. The other thing that was good about having HCI as our alternate, or I shouldn't say HCI, having Anne Marie in her capacity as community engagement be the alternate. They paid half, which was $3,500. So close to $3,500. So that was also nice that we shared the cost, but we can put it as is, or we can put our Vice Chair Chamberlain in there as our delegate. Up to the council.
Madam Chair, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, my audio was off. I've been in a meeting from the beginning, so I just now got it back on. Just letting you know. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Vice Chairman Chamberlain, do you have any interest in serving as the alternate for NCI?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because my audio keeps dropping in and out. I didn't even know what we were on.
We're on the NCAI membership resolution, and we don't have an alternate delegate named.
Oh, that's up to you guys. I don't care. Either way.
Okay. Well, absent another person, the vice chair would be my recommendation.
John, I'll move.
Okay. We have a motion by John. Louis, did you want to second that? Louis, did you want to second that?
I second it.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have a motion to adopt NCAI membership 2122. What's the resolution number for that?
It's 21. If this is a new one, I thought you said that we already adopted one.
No, we approved the membership, but we didn't adopt a resolution. So now the resolution's been
It would be
prepared.
21-144, I think.
Thank you. So we have a motion by John to adopt resolution 21-144, naming Chairwoman Kitcheon and Vice Chairman Chamberlain as the delegates for the 21-22 Winnebago Tribe membership. And we have a second by Louis. Discussion. Objection to the motion.
Abstain.
Abstain, okay. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your hand or say aye. Rona, Louis, Lorelei,
Eric?
Eric,
John.
John, abstention,
Brian.
Brian, no. Coley, are you voting on this one?
Yes, I vote yes.
Yes, Coley. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6-0-1. Motion carried. Thank you, council. The next one under old business, council, as you know, the tribe and with the help of our public health department and many others such as the task force, the membership in general, have been doing a lot of things to keep our community safe and doing everything we can in terms of mask wearing, social distancing, teleworking, you know, all the forms that we've done and everything that the tribe has tried to do in an effort to combat this disease and have public health at the forefront. But we're always trying to find a fine balance between being able to still practice our culture, being able to still gather with our families, being able to go to work safely. And so one of the things that we had done this summer was reinforce the mask mandate, and community and tribal members were the ones that asked for that. And so people were happy. But where we found that after further kind of feedback, our revenue has been impacted by this, and our acting our acting general manager, Mr. Mashad, had shared some data points with us, and I forwarded that on to the council. And so since that time, I've been visiting with some of the tribal members, and even some of the council have expressed they're noticing the business is down. And there are other casinos in the area that have an honor system, and that they wear the mask if they're not vaccinated. So there's been discussion and wanting to bring this back to the council for to revisit it, and to be considering those revenues and how we can find a balance with all these things. Lorelei?
Madam Chair, Mr. Mashad, our acting general manager at Winnebago, has dialed in, and so can he tell the council what he sees and what he needs, please?
Certainly. Mr. Mashad, I invite you to the discussion. Are you on?
Yes, Madam Chair, I am on. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. So when I was developing the marketing plan, and means the controller and I had seen a drop in business. So I did some analysis, which I shared with you and you shared with the council, that we've seen a dramatic 33% decrease in the amount of slot revenue that we're making. And slot revenue contributes to 92 to 95% of the overall revenue for the property. And that happened in July. So I can pinpoint it to the day, July 20th, when we reinstated masks. And actually on the 30th, when we show you August numbers, it is reflective of that as well. So that's, we're supposed to make $750,000 in EBITDA for the month of August, and it's coming in a little bit under 500,000. So that mask mandate has impacted people coming to Winnebago. And along with the mask mandate is the fact that we don't allow smoking because masks are mandated. When we looked at Blackbird Bend and we looked at Hard Rock, the two major competitors, they actually have the honor system, as you mentioned, where masks aren't necessary for people that are vaccinated according to their honor system. Now, the real threat is in future business, because what starts happening is that when people stop coming to our property and they start playing at our competition, the competition then gets those people into the database as players, and based upon the level of play, they start marketing to them. So what'll happen is that I'm not sure if we can recoup that amount of money. There's strategies and tactics that we can implement that will say, okay, you stop coming in on July 20th, and if we dissolve the mask mandate, I can then market to them knowing that that was the reason that they weren't coming in. And unfortunately, it's actually affecting our entertainment venues as well. We have Sheena, Easton, and Tiffany on October 9th, and it's very difficult to sell tickets when Hard Rock has no mask, they have smoking. So, you know, it's difficult for us to actually sell tickets to those shows because of the mask mandate. And I hope you understand the reason that I say that, you know, it's a spiral downward, because when players stop coming in and they go to the competition, we have the potential to lose them as loyal players to Winnebago.
Thank you, Michael, for sharing that with us, as well as watching those data points for discussions like this. One of the things that we had originally been thinking of course, are the customers as well as the employees. And one thing that I hope that we could continue to have in place would be having our staff and management, and show, of course, the example, to keep that enforced for safety. But patrons, I'm really looking to the council to reconsider that if you think that's appropriate. Lorelai?
Madam Chair, we cannot lose this revenue. Our Winnebago people depend on the services. And so I'm making a motion to lift the mask mandate on our customers in Winnebago, and they can smoke as well.
Second.
We have a motion on the table from Lorelai to, is that effective immediately, Lorelai, or when is that effective? Okay. We have a motion by Lorelai to lift the customer mask mandate at Winnebago Resort Casino effective immediately. We have a second by Eric. Discussion.
This is John. I got a discussion.
Hi, John.
Are we adding in with this motion in a second? Are we adding in replacement as far as a recommendation for unvaccinated to wear masks and not smoke so they can protect themselves? Like I said, the honor system. Are we just lifting it and leaving nothing there?
I think that's a fair ask, John. Lorelai, is that what you had intended?
Yes.
Okay. So in that motion, for the minutes, we need to reflect that this is going to be based on the honor system, and that folks that have been vaccinated can enjoy this, and those that have not on their honor system would still continue to wear a mask. John, does that capture it?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Council. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes,
Madam
sir.
Chair, I have a comment, and that is my recommendation, because the real use of masks is to protect you from affecting others, correct?
Yes.
And with our vaccination rate that we have with our associates, I would suggest that we keep masks on for associates and allow the honor system for our guests.
Yes, sir. That's what the motion has.
Thank you.
Any further discussion or comment? I'm gonna call for the question. Any objection to the motion? Motion carried 7-0-0. Thank you, Council, and thank you, Michael, for joining us for this discussion.
Thank you, and I appreciate every one of you. And hopefully we can implement those tactics to get those players back to us. So thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Will you be working with your team to get that out to the patrons and your staff?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
we will submit it to Gaming Commission to change that, and we'll ask for a 3 signature so we can implement that tomorrow.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Have a good evening. Our second order of business under old business is resolution 21-14A. We had, last time we looked at this, we had some confusion and questions on the commercial license language. And since then, our land department has worked with us to get that resubmitted. And so this is the corrected resolution. So do we have a motion for resolution 21-141A? Excuse me, do we have a motion?
I guess I didn't catch what the change was.
So the last time we had it in front of us, there was question and confusion over commercial lease language, and in Joy's resolution, she had made reference to it, and so they had circled back among the planning department and land department had gotten that worked out.
There's a problem that's, actually, just to something done, like Mateo. We own the land. It's a game to pick up, determine what to do with it. They want us to go into commercial rental rates, which is $50 a year. We have housing, families buying houses at a higher rental rate than commercial.
Louis, the last whereas it says it will be 0. 25 years in the amount of 0 annually. So just to your point, they're doing it just like you said. We're not charging ourselves. So Louis had, during the last discussion that we had during our land meeting, Louis had question about if it's our land and the tribe owns it, then why would we charge them? And so I suspect that feedback was heard because on the last whereas it says that it is free. So with that, do we have a motion to adopt resolution 21-141A? We have a motion by Rona. Do we have a second? Second by Eric. Discussion. Okay, I'm gonna go back to Louis. Louis, are you okay with the way it's written?
I read it on the computer. I don't have a copy.
Okay, yeah, you know what?
I'm gonna work for it.
I apologize, Louis, you're right, because since this one came in after the fact, it's not in the packet. So it was printed out and so often when we get things after the packet is produced, sometimes some of our council members don't end up with it printed out and things like that. So sorry, Louis, I was talking to you like you had this right in front of you. I'm sorry. So in the last whereas, Louis, I'm just going to read it to you since I apologize you didn't have that in front of you. Now, therefore, it be resolved, the Winnebago Tribal Council hereby approve to waive the formal appraisal by the BIA and move forward on commercial lease for the care center north for 25 years in the amount of 0 annually. You guys are just about to test my whole trunk. I've been actually looking at the alphabet and I think I could have sounded that out, but I don't want to offend the care center. So any more comments? All right, I'm going to call for the question. Any objection to the motion? Motion carried 700. Okay, thanks guys. So to drag that out is just we hadn't taken care of that. And under tribal council business, we have evaluation of the criminal justice in the Winnebago Tribal Court. Lorelei, would you like to introduce this discussion or would you like me to?
Madam Chair, I'm willing to do this. I both know that we have had tribal members since from last October that are having difficulty with the amount of times it takes them to move through our criminal justice system. And the families have reported to us that their public defender never calls them back. They have a hard time with the inconsistencies of bond. One person gets bond for one thing, and then somebody's got an outlandish bond for $9,000. There's no consistency. So when I first raised this, the the CEO reminded me that there had been an assessment done. And so we all got a copy of that, and it was by this Hammond law firm. And this was provided courtesy from the BIA Office of Justice Services. They paid for this Hammond law firm to conduct a tribal court assessment that was requested by the Winnebago Tribal Council back on January 9th of 2019. And so it actually happened, but unfortunately, when they came, the time was scheduled. We were in the pandemic. And so they were never, after we read the tribal court assessment, they were never able to get actual data on number of criminal court cases, number of civil cases, number of child protective service cases. They weren't able to get that because during the assessment that they had scheduled and the time for it, we were in the pandemic. So my question is going back to the BIA Office of Justice Services, if this, since they provided the cost for this law firm to come in here, is there a plan for them to come back in here to get the data and finish the assessment? That's my question. And the bottom line, why I'm asking is, we need to know what the numbers are to assess whether or not we're providing enough public health defender support for those accused in our criminal court system, where they're getting their cases moved through our court in a timely and just manner. So that's what I'm asking.
Okay, thanks, Lorelai. And I guess in response to Lorelai's comments, I don't know if it's the pandemic. I don't know. I really don't know what it is, but in the brief time that I've had the privilege to sit at the table since 2015, I've never received so many tribal members coming in about our court and about our human services. And so it's concerning, and we've had lots of conversations with our CEO, and now we're working towards a process with our CAO. And so I just want to let the membership know that we are working on it and we are listening. One of the tough things is that when tribal members come in crisis and in distress, we want to listen to them, and it makes it difficult because then we have to get on to people on what they're doing or what they're not doing. And that can be uncomfortable. It's hard to be in charge sometimes, but through that process, we've kind of arrived that, well, asking all the questions about our court and what Lorelai shared with you is how far we've gotten. And we've come to consider that maybe our court and amongst many of our other programs need some of these reviews so that we can make the services the best they can be for the tribal members. And of course, it's always really hard to hear criticism from the leadership, from the people. And so we're just trying to also strike that balance, and so that our programs are productive, and that if people are offended, we don't mean to offend you. It's just that we're the ones that you guys voted for to make sure that these things are operating properly for your benefit. So the court's one of those things. And so it's kind of tough to have this conversation to say that perhaps we could do a better job. And so without the data, it's hard to make decisions like that. And so we looked to this report thinking that we would find all those answers and where we could further support the court. And so I thought, I've been thinking about this, like my approach. I think I'll say, how can I further support you, And so our question is now back to the council, how can we further support the court? And this recommendation to do a review perhaps would get us there. So that's the whole in a nutshell. Any discussion or kind of thoughts around that? or perhaps if you've gotten to read the court assessment that we do have on.
I like the assessment. It's gonna bring out facts we don't like to hear. You need a new computer system. It's gonna cost money. And they need new public defenders. And attorneys for the men that don't have money to pay for them. It's gonna add up. To respond to the problem, you have to find that money somewhere.
So Lorelei, how many spots did you see that were not completed because they said staff or people were unavailable to submit paperwork or data? Do you remember?
You're
So,
on.
I made notes as I was reading the assessment. And they made a major statement that says, I think it's on page 18, no case review during the assessment due to the pandemic. That means they couldn't get the case numbers that we were asking for, or that should have been in the assessment. And then they said the age of pending caseload, that was on page 22. The court does not have an available database for determining the number of cases resolved during a particular year, or cases that were carried over from year to year. Hey, I'm talking here. And then what they recommend is that the court seek funding to purchase and install case management software that will track number of cases open and closed each year. This will facilitate better management of inactive cases and make certain that cases are closed in a timely and expeditious manner. And so I understand that because of the pandemic, we were impacted by the pandemic, we were able to put this software into the ARPA budget, which the tribal council approved last week. So we're going to be able to purchase the software to better manage our caseloads, but it's going to take a few months to buy it, train our staff in using it, and make it become a workable data system for us. So it takes data entry before we're going to get it to where it will work for us. But what's missing here is when 35 years ago, when the Winnebago tribe founded our court, at that time, they proposed that there be one public defender. But I'm sure that with all that has happened in the last 35 years, we probably have more of a criminal caseload in our criminal justice system than we had 35 years ago. So without knowing what our criminal caseload is, we need to find out what that load is, because maybe we need to put money into more public defenders for our criminal court system to make the cases move through it in an expeditious manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Ms. Coley, I got a comment.
Coley, please share with us.
Okay. Yeah, the court and our human service, or the other program we're talking about that deals with our people. That's a major problem. That's one of our major problems that we need to address, and somehow, some way, find a solution to fix it. They're professionals. They need to do their job. We need them there daily. We need them there all day. our people, they need to follow the plans. They need to follow the rules, our laws, and there's penalties, and we have to allow that to take place. And that's where we get our people coming to us, and telling us their stories. They don't want to follow through with the plan. They don't want to obey the laws. And part of that problem is our housing. There's people, they're supposed to get jobs. We have jobs. They're not doing it. They're not following through. Our programs aren't following through. They need to follow through with that plan. And there's consequences and penalties that are set in place too. And we just have to, I don't know, tell them, you need to do your job. They are doing a job. They're doing a good job. And they just need to do their job, be here daily, and help us fix this problem with our people, our own people. I almost guarantee it's in everybody's family. We all have somebody in our family that are out there not obeying the laws, the plans, and how we're supposed to be, and following through with their plans, when they do mess up, when they are naughty, follow through treatments, programs, get a job, get them on their feet. That's what that, the funding, it helps them. They qualify, I'm lost for words of the programs, and it helps them out, and it takes care of them for a year or two. And that's when they're supposed to be out there, going to work, getting right, getting sober, and doing these things, getting back on their feet. But that's almost failed, if it hasn't failed totally. It probably hasn't totally, but we have a lot of people out there that just are not following our plan that we have set in place. And we have people trying to enforce that plan. But they're just, our people, our relatives are resistant to that. They don't want to do it, They don't want to get off their butts, don't want to go to work, don't want to take care of their kids, don't want to live the proper life, And that's what we need to, somehow, some way. That's a major problem for us, and coming up in these years, that's what we need to tackle and really try and knock that problem off. It is a major problem. It should be, in our plan, our master plan, or whatever 10-year plan we got, lifelong plan, is to make our people healthy. And those two programs are a major part of it, along with us. So what we do, set up a meeting, and maybe we need to. What can the court do better? They need to be there 8 to 4:30. I don't know, what the schedules are. We see those contracts, they're only scheduled, 20 hours a week or something something like that. When we look at the attorneys on both the prosecuting and public defender side, we need somebody there every day, all day, to push these through, to follow through, that they're, again, I'm just kind of rambling on, to finish that plan, to be better people. It is a major problem, and somehow we need to fix it. It's a good topic, and we do need to stay on top of it. Thank you.
Thanks, Coley, for those comments. I don't think you were around. I think, you just gave us some truth serum, and it's really hard to look at our relatives, look at ourselves, and say, how did we get ourselves in this situation? And so that's probably one of the hardest things. And I've really been visiting with Terry Medina lately, and he's telling me about the way he discusses things when people come to see him, and about the mirror that he has, his spirit mirror. And he said, look at that mirror, look in the mirror and slap yourself up. And so I appreciate Terry's guidance to some of the relatives that need to have that discussion with themselves. So as we all kind of work towards that reality, and what we need to do to do our part, that are clients to some of these programs, this discussion, I think, is an effort to see what we could further do to make sure that the operation is as good as it can be. And when we approve those contracts for whether it be the public defender or the prosecutor or the judge or whoever, part of the problem, I think, is that many of these folks are part of a firm and they do only do part-time here. And so if we could recruit full-time providers of those services, that would be something. So, but I'm interested in having this conversation with the folks that have experience in this direction and know how we could navigate through that and come up with that and be, how do they say, best practices? That's the term they use, like best practices. And our court, which was founded, someone had the date, and that long ago, maybe they were using best practices, but 20-something years later, there might be some things that are best practices now. So I'm willing to have that discussion, and I'm glad Lorelei kind of is spearheading this because of people that have called her and people that have stopped by. And so that's a lot where some of this comes from, is you have somebody coming in saying the same thing to you over and over again, and then that person says the same thing. You're like, man, we should look into this. So a lot of that has happened. And so we've heard directly from the people that, and we're not able to answer these questions. And in digging for the answer, this is what we've arrived at. So will there be any motion?
Madam Chair, can you hear me?
Right. Yes.
I wanted to offer some comment into this because when this subject was introduced, there was also a part of that introduction in relation to how the fines or the bail levels or whatever they are established, because I can speak to that directly. A relative of mine was charged with a crime where the bail was set at $10,000 at their arraignment. And the very next case was a felony level DUI, and that person was given a $500 bond. I didn't understand the difference between the two because my relative's issue was not a felony, but the next person down the line on the list was, and received a $9,500 difference in the bail that they were being charged. And to that point, Madam Chair, because I know this has happened to other tribal members, and I'm going to state it myself, the bail that I posted, the prosecutor could not make the case, and therefore the case was dropped. Our tribal court, however, took it upon themselves to keep 10% of the bail that I posted, even though the case never went to trial. It was dropped. I do not see how that is just. I do not see how that is fair. I do not even see how that is consistent. And because I can speak to that directly, that happened to me and my family. I know it has happened to others because I've been told by others it has done the exact same thing. So I'm bringing this up, Madam Chair, to reiterate the point that this scenario exists. This scenario is real, and this court needs to be really, really looked at for what it considers to be justice, as opposed to what it is going to do to try to raise revenue on the backs of the tribal members. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Brian, for your comments. And just like you've got a story, I think everyone's got a story, much like once we start talking about issues we have, we usually find some common ground. So thank you for sharing that with us. Any other comments on this discussion?
This is Eric. I have a comment.
Hi, Eric.
Yes, talking about these bails that I had a family member that was arrested during powwow, and so they bailed out that same day, and they're still waiting for that bail return due to the outcome of that case at that time. And so with what I've seen with that, what I've heard up to this point, I think this would probably need a little bit more looking into from the council. so we can, and as it's been said, to get some more feedback from the community. You know, it's one thing to bring a problem, but to bring a solution at the same time, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric, for those comments. And from hearing, and again, you know, another shared experience. I guess how to kind of put a little bit of finesse on this discussion. It's not to in some way tear any of our programming down. In fact, it's to build them up. I wanted to mention that there's a record management system that the court has not been able to, I shouldn't say the court, the tribe through tribal appropriations or other grant funding has not been able to support. And luckily through some of the ARP money that we're getting, and the court, you know, in their good judgment and wisdom, put that in the ARP draft budget, which was approved. And so the record management system, that's already been approved, and we hope that, you know, as some of these programs are rolling out and getting to complete their asks, that we have this exercise that we're talking about in a parallel effort. And so the answer might not be just get new hardware, new software. Maybe the answer is that we have this parallel effort. And so what I guess I'm looking for, just to move us along, is that we would solicit for this type of review, and that we would follow the procurement process. But if there's a motion to solicit, then we could start that process. And through our CEO and our acting court administrator, I'm sure that we could find the service that's the best fit in the gap in data that we're looking for. That's my recommendation. I don't know if the council, from what they've heard in discussion, is where they're thinking, but that's what I've gathered from speaking with some of you and hearing your thoughts this evening.
Hello, Tori. This is John.
Oh, hi, John.
I just wanted to provide some of my thoughts on this matter, and the same as everyone else. I've tribal members have reached out to me with their complaints, and it's tough. It's tough sitting here as a council member because there needs to be that separation of power there, and then we'll say, well, who do you go to then? And to me, we have the system here, and maybe we don't have somebody to go to. Because last year, during our last election, I voted to approve that judge's contract on a 1 year, and there was no analysis for me that was provided to me. There was no recommendation. We just did it, and I think that's what we're missing here. And you know, when we try to be helpful, you know, we're sitting in these seats, but then our hands are tied because there needs to be that separation there. Because it's the judicial branch of our government, and we're really the legislative and the executive to where we can create the law, but then how do we make sure that the law is followed in a timely manner, in a just manner, with due process and timely manner for all of our tribe members? So I think this might be a good opportunity for us to step forward, take a big step forward in our judicial branch of our tribal government, and maybe we could put somebody, maybe the people, maybe the membership could put somebody in place that they believe in, and that then there would be somebody that their hands ain't tied, and they could look into these matters, make sure that things are happening, and make sure that we're contracting with good people, and make sure that the people that are there, that they care, because it is important. It's important to us because it's our lives, it's our community, it's our children, it's our parents, and it's a lot of the time it seems like these people in these positions. I mean, I'm just speaking from my very minimal source of information that I have, that it doesn't seem like it's that people really care, and that people are really doing it. This just kind of going through the motions and going through and I think if we have the people involved, because the only time that you know, maybe a judge can get removed, you know, not by us, the people can do it. The people can recall them. The people can do that. But maybe if we added another aspect in there, and we have the power as the legislative and executive, that we can change the game. We can create the game, and to make it a better working system for our people, that we can create those laws, and that we can create a representative of the people to make sure that those laws are being followed, and those laws are being followed through with. So those are just some of my thoughts, and I think beefing up our judicial branch of our tribal government is a good thing, and it's good work. And then I'm all on board for doing that. And just wanted to provide my thoughts. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Lorelei?
Madam Chair, I think we need a more in-depth assessment than what we got out of the criminal justice, or the people that contracted the Hammond Law Firm. I think there's, I mean, everything is interrelated always in the Indian world. So there's our court, but also interrelated is we have no jail. So our people are you know, taken way up there to the Yankton reservation because they accept other tribal prisoners. And so our people are up there on the Yankton reservation. And then our law enforcement has to go get them or bring them back for any kind of hearing. And I mean, it's just compounds. It's like it's compounded from one issue of just where they're housed at to the next about, do we have enough law enforcement time? And so it's all interconnected. And also our look is, maybe we need to enact bond guidelines. So that there's not this arbitrary decision by one judge to slap a high bond on a tribal member. Maybe we need to enact bond guidelines. Another is maybe we need to, the tribal council is planning to do code revisions, and maybe we need to look at the sentencing guidelines for these codes. Conviction of maybe somewhere in the criminal codes, and what are the sentencing guidelines? And then we have no idea right now who is directly supervising the judges. You asked that question at our last meeting, Madam Chair, and no one could answer. And then who is supervising the public defender, so that they know the timeliness of what they're putting towards all the criminals that they're supposed to be, or the accused, excuse me. I need to say accused. For those accused, do they have enough of that public defender's time to move their case through our system? And finally, I want to know who is supervising the prosecutor. And what guidelines is the prosecutor going by to say they're going to take a case and prosecute it? As we're going to hear later on in this meeting in an executive session. So to me, I think we're not overstepping our bounds. We are separate from the judicial system, but we have the say over how our judicial system should operate under codes and policies. And so I want to make a motion to direct our CAO and our CFO through the procurement system. Let's find us an assessment that is, that we need, not what BIA said we need, to know what our numbers are and to answer these questions, so that we can make informed decisions to improve our court system and how we how we work in justice. So I'll make a motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We have a motion by Lorelei. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Louis. Discussion. The discussion point I have to make is that in the meantime, since our last discussion, the CEO did email me and let me know that the court administrator oversees the judges' contracts. Any further comments?
Comment.
Eric.
You know, I was thinking as we're listening to everybody speak, speak. You know, we have to keep in mind that supervision, as it's been brought up, we need to see and clarify who's watching the judges or anyone else down there, along with the payroll, because that's one complaint that's out there is a lot of people aren't there a lot of times when they should be there, and we're here for our tribal members, and so we need to ensure that people are there from their start to lunch and lunch to finish, however they're going to do that, to have them down there. And along with the bond guidelines, I agree with that. You know, in the last 24 months, we lost community members to the hands of other individuals, and attempted, even with the elders, that, you know, with one of those cases, we had somebody that took one of our enrolled members' lives, and they were out on bond within 24 hours of being arrested. And so I think those bond guidelines do need to be looked at. And since we're going to be looking at the codes, I think we have to keep all that in mind. And like I said before, that's one of the 3 starting places of that I would like to see us start at, is at the court, law enforcement, and the hospital. So thank you.
Thank you, Eric. So, any further questions or comments? Objection to the motion?
Can you repeat the motion?
The motion is to direct our CEO and CFO to use the procurement process to secure an assessment designed for the answers we, this Winnebago Tribal Council, are seeking.
Thank you.
We have a second by Louis. Any further comments or questions? Objection to the motion? Motion carried 7-0-0. Thank you, Council. Our next item is the emergency management plan. Emergency management action for immediate response plan. And so, as you know, Council, we had a call with Isaac, our emergency management coordinator or contractor, and Isaac visited with the council and looking for some feedback on the direction that he was going, and wanting to make sure that it was in line and had the support. And from that meeting, I asked Isaac for a draft. You know, we wanted to see what he had, and since then he has submitted a draft. And also there's an example from another tribe, and I don't think at that time the whole council had gotten a chance to review that. And in the meantime, he brought them down and packets have been prepared. And so that's where we're at with our emergency management plan, is that we continue to work towards a draft. I don't know if there's support. It says action for immediate response plan, but I didn't know, Lorla?
Madam Chair, in speaking with Isaac, I'm the one that put this on the agenda. What is needed right off the bat by Isaac is authority on communication. Because there's if there's some horrible disaster that happens, first of all, within the tribal organization, what system do we use within the tribal organization to contact all our directors immediately? But then it might also need to, we might need to have our WCHS connected on this disaster. So what system do they have that they can connect with once they hear from Isaac? Or say there's an active shooter in the community. So what Isaac needs is council authorization to have a meeting of all the IT people in each of our tribal entities to come up with a mass communication system, and when it's needed. That's what he needs. a tribal council motion for that. And Isaac can speak to this better than me, but that's what he needs. Thank you.
Thanks, Rona. My question about that is that we still have an emergency manager who is a full-time employee who has, I guess I just don't really, is Irita on the phone? Because I don't know if I want to give anyone like a blanket, some type of authority. I guess I don't know what the contract says and what the deliverable is and what the engagement with these folks are. Is that outside of the contract? Is that why the council's trying to authorize that? I'm just not sure. How
I
can we
can
move?
comment to that.
Is that you, Isaac?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, can you
Yeah,
comment on that?
Okay. Let me fire up my camera here. Ini. First of all, I want to say good evening to all of you guys. And I was listening to you guys wrestle through the tribes, some of their issues. What I'm really trying to ask for is I guess it could be prepared in emotion, but what I'm trying to do is communication is a big barrier for all of us a lot of times. So what I'm looking for is I'm trying to get all the IT people on the same page, so that way we can send out a mass alert if we needed to. And so what the tribe and talking with Brandon, you want me to start over or did you hear all that? Okay, talking with Brandon, one of the things that the tribe has in place already is what's called Alert Sense. And in that Alert Sense is a computer software, and it's able to send out like mass text alerts through cell phones. So the way he's been utilizing that is if you have a tribal email address and phone number, or either just your name and an email address, he can enter you into that system, which then lets you become kind of like a group chat almost, but they're able to send those alerts out. So the hospital, 12 Clans, is also running a little bit different system. And so what I was trying to ask for was to be able to go ahead and work with all these IT guys. And if that's okay, I'm trying to stay in my own lane is what I'm trying to do. But to answer your question, Tori, it's not in my contract to be able to have any kind of authority or anything. And so that's why I'm kind of asking this, is if I can get all the IT people and meet with them. If you guys are all good with that and okay with that, then we can connect all the systems. So that way, if something goes on in town, say there was an actual tornado that touched down and was heading towards Winnebago, we could actually hit everybody's cell phone that signed up for that and wanted to be a part of that system, and let them know what's going on. Say there was a gas leak or an ammonia leak or something like that, we could hit every cell phone that was signed up for that. So we do have something kind of somewhat in place, but I am not authorized to go ahead and start trying to boss people around and say, hey, you need to be a part of this. So that's what I'm trying to ask for is that a little bit, if that answers your question.
Yeah, that's really helpful. So the thing that you made me think of was the council didn't engage and enter into a contract with you. The Fiscal Resources Department did. So could they amend your contract? And like the council really didn't have a role in hiring you. So I don't know if we have a role in telling you what you should do in or out of your contract.
Okay,
So,
and I understand that. I'm just trying to muddle through it too. So
personally, me, I told you I support you. I think this is good work. I think that meeting's important. Something could happen tomorrow, tonight. And so I don't have a problem with you and your contract and how you're going about doing your work. But I do feel uncomfortable with asking the council to pass a motion outside of the contract that we have never even seen. You know what I mean?
okay, yeah, I totally understand. And my contract actually expires tomorrow.
So are we
Just looking at it.
an amendment to that so that you can continue working?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a question. You know, I don't know what the funding that is supporting your position came from, but if they still have funding, I would hope that they would support keeping you on, but these are just my thoughts. Anybody have any thoughts on this or want to share? So Isaac, I'm not giving you a hard time. I'm trying to direct you in the right path to get what you're trying to get. Because what if the contract turns around and said, well, you weren't being paid to do that. I didn't tell you to go do that. We're not paying you to do that, is the council. So I just want you to make sure that you're covered.
Yeah, and I
Coley,
appreciate that.
Coley has a comment.
Hey, Coley.
Yes. I do think we need to extend this contract because that manual hasn't approved yet. We still, if anybody's looked at it yet for approval, and we do need to look at it, and we need our ideals need to come out, like notifications, yes, and contact, and what else could be done, to if there is a tornado coming, what needs to be done, email goes out quick, from somebody, and so on. So, and yeah, the work isn't done yet. So I do think we need to extend this contract if possible. I'm sorry. I was gonna just add one more thing. It just for example, like last year when we had that active shooter, we was in the. It was still pandemic time, but people were in the office and in the Blackhawk, and that's all we knew. There was an active shooter. It was the college or the St. Aug's then, and so on, and we had no idea what to do. And people were worried. I could, you could see it in people's faces. So it needs to be finished up.
Would it be helpful if the council made a motion of support or something? I guess what do you want to do, Laura? Like do you have a motion that you'd like to?
Yes, I don't want to get into the fact that the tribe has been paying an emergency manager. That happened before I came on this council. But in the brief time that Isaac has been working on this under a contract, he's found out more things that's more helpful to me than a big old 3-inch template that somebody pulled off the internet and stuck places in there. So I want us to be able to have mass communication before we proceed further in the event some disaster happens. And he can't piecemeal. Isaac will have to go talk to this entity, then go over here and talk to this entity. And he doesn't have the authority. So my thinking was this council could make a motion requesting each tribal entity to assign their IT person to be on a call with Isaac, go to webinar, so that they could come up with circles of communication as needed when something affects the tribe, like that winter cold we had last year. And we had members that were without heat. And we couldn't even get a hold of that emergency manager. And luckily, our communications director, even though he was without electricity, he was able to get a go-to webinar that we were all able to get on and got the entities on there so we could make decisions to get our tribal members to a warm place. And I hate to see us go any further without having a mass communication identified within the tribal organization and then going out to our other tribal entities. So he needs council authorization for the entities to meet with him and they can work on a plan. That's what he needs. Council motion.
So what I'm trying to do by getting the okay from you guys to go ahead and talk to these guys is that right now I've gone out and I've talked to the only one I've really talked to on the IT side of these things. This is just only one part of the actual plan, but I've talked to Brandon on it and a few times with Chris. But one of the things that is going on when I go out and I interface with some of these programs and stuff and talk about the training, the NIMS 100 and 700, it kind of doesn't really go anywhere. There's a couple of good programs that actually went and accomplished it and got it going, but there's others that aren't. They're just like, oh, it's just Isaac, and he's just asking for some little dumb FEMA training or something, and that's kind of how it feels, and it's hard to get anything done and to have these programs be a part of the process, because the programs that I'm trying to work with are the programs that are going to be a crucial part in the event of something happening in Winnebago. Because one of the things is if you can catch in the plan so far, there's a little bit of there's in the content there's some of the direction that it goes towards is we're gonna have to use all of our local resources first in order to ask for more help. The programs that I'm trying to work with, those are some of our local resources that will have to be used before we're able to go to the next level. And so that's what I'm trying to work with. But I could shoot them emails all day long. I can meet with them, and I don't get anywhere, So
I got an idea, Isaac, how I can further support you. And most times when they want to pull in the council, it's because they need further support or they want to, tell on somebody. And so I want to support you, and I would like to draft a memo. And if you give me if you put a schedule of meetings together, I will draft a memo and asking that all the entities send a representative, and that it's the wishes of the council to get this done. And I would be more than happy to do that, to give you some support. If the council if they want to make a motion to that effect, I'm thinking of Esther. Esther could be helpful with her programs and how we work with Esther and HR to accomplish, the training that you've been asking for. And so just kind of ideas on how we get there. If the council makes a motion, if the council doesn't make a motion, I'd be happy to send that memo on your behalf in partnership with you. So would that work?
Yeah, I'm willing to try anything at this point. Just so if things don't take off the way that we're trying to get them to, then we can say, well, we can kind of go down a checklist and say we tried that, none of that worked.
So
go ahead.
Those are my ideas, and if the council has a motion in that direction, or maybe you have a different direction you're thinking of, but the floor is open just to kind of help Isaac, and we asked him to do something for us, and I just trying to support him along.
This is Eric. I have a comment. Yes, I agree that the time that Isaac's been here and helping us on his contract, that I would agree that we extend his contract until we get this done. I've been on the council for 2 years and haven't heard anything from our emergency manager. And with the short time Isaac's been here, he's been doing a good job making calls, making connections with people. And this class that he was talking about the last time we were in a meeting together, that was for people like the council to give us a heads up and an idea of how to go about an emergency situation. That I still like that idea, because then we would kind of know what we're looking at under certain scenarios. And as it's been brought up, that ice storm last year, that kind of just that was a result of our lack of our emergency manager's abilities to do what we needed him to do. And so things like that, with the winter coming upon us, to be more proactive this year and have something ready. And I see that what Isaac is doing is going to take us in that direction. That I would agree with giving him all the help that he would need to ensure that we are able to get our people into safe places should a emergency arrive. So with that said, thank you.
Thanks, Eric, for offering that. All right, any further comments, or is there a motion to proceed with the intention?
I have one last thing to put in there, Tori. As we move forward, I like your nails. As we move forward, one of the things is that any meetings or any memos or anything that's set up, I'm available for any day now, after tomorrow. But if you guys don't feel comfortable, and maybe this is just a thing that you guys talk amongst yourself when it's only council, is that any kind of authorization or anything that you guys give me or are willing to, it's not that that's what I'm after, but that's what would help. But you can remember that there's consequences for if I step out of line, and this is going way to the extremes, but there's even hell, you guys would kick me off the res if you wanted, if I abuse that authority. So I'm saying that in a way to try to build confidence in you guys that that I'm not gonna screw this up, because this is something that I want to see done too. And so just keep those kind of things in mind. And then back to, just as in closing, back to some of the issues that you guys were bringing up. If you look at how the tribe is structured, and that's one of the things that I've kind of learned a lot about as far as going into this emergency operation plan, is that we have to look at the way all the departments are set up, how these departments are supposed to help each other department, and they kind of in a rotation they would help each other. And that's kind of neat, because that's one of the Ho Chunk ways. But the other thing is that in the annual operation plan that's coming up, and I think is due or already has been asked for, I think there's a part in there that you guys might be able to use as a tool. It's a SWOT analysis. So looking at your guys' core issues that you've guys talked about and shared different thoughts and feelings about, the SWOT analysis on the court, human services, police department, because a lot of times the police department gets beat up about issues. But if you go and actually talk to the police department, they're going to say, well, we could write a 3-hour long report on somebody, and then gets kicked to the court, and then the court just kind of flushes it through or pushes it through, and nothing gets, so it kills the morale of the actual boots on the ground, the officers out in the field. So those are some of the things that I just wanted to kind of throw out there, just trying to bring a solution to some of the things that you guys are up against and trying to find support of. And then if you look at, I call it the system, cop gets called to your house, kids get taken away, lose your job, have to go through all these programs, whether it's through human services stuff, alcohol program, mental health, all these different programs. We kind of, like, in a way, need to figure out how all of that is supposed to be supporting each other, because once you go and complete one part of it, the next program is supposed to pick up that part and help them on. And then through the end of, once we run them through that whole thing, they're supposed to be a little bit healthier community member and tribal member. Those are the kind of programs that our tribal programs are supposed to be offering. So the COVID really did do a big impact on us, but it also learned a lot of things from it and taught us a lot of different things. It taught us our weaknesses and our strengths as far as membership and programs. So as you guys mosey on down the path a little bit, don't beat yourselves up too much. There's a lot of good things that have been done and are being done, but there's also a lot of things that still continue to need work in the community. So I just wanted to share those thoughts and feelings with you guys and let you guys know that I appreciate your time. I'm glad that I got to kind of chime in here and add my 2 cents. So thank you.
I have something to say.
Thanks, Louis.
We're not looking at the
Thanks.
Pardon?
I was saying thanks, Isaac. Go ahead, Louis, but I said thanks, Louis. Go ahead, Isaac. So go ahead, Louis.
Thanks, Isaac. I want to say that we're not looking at the elephant in the room. We have an employee that's not meeting standards. And we have to replace him his work by hiring a contractor. So we have to deal with that employee that's not doing his work. And I hate to say it, because I've known him when he was a little boy in Macy. When his dad came and got Nebraska Tribal Development Corporation going, and the impact it had on the tribe. And Matthew isn't living up to snuff, and he has to go. Thank you.
Thanks, Louis, for sharing that. And yeah, we kind of got a lot of hands on deck. You know, we got all hands on deck. We're gonna get it done. We got 2 more hands on deck. So, Rona.
I just want to say thank you, Isaac. I know we talked a few times and you're gathering information. I really don't see what the hurdle is for you at this moment, but like I don't know who I heard, Coley, or maybe it was Tori, you know, your contract is through physical resources, and it wasn't really through council. So I'm not sure why this isn't coming from physical resources, this request. And that that's who you report to. And so I just wanted to make sure, you know, that you're not jumping the gun and who you report to and coming straight to council. Like you said, you know, you wanted that support. Maybe it should be coming from IRETA. You know, I'm not saying you're doing a bad job, but just I'd like to see that whoever you contracted with, that's who you go through first, and then come gain our support. I mean, we all support you no matter what, but I just want you to go in the right direction and follow that chain of command. But you have done a lot in this last year on this. I just want to see it done before we have our next casualty in the community or anything. But yeah, I'm also working on that FEMA class. It's a little bit long, tedious, but I just want to say thank you, and maybe get with IRETA and have her request some of those authorities from us for you. Thank you.
So in the meantime, while we're talking, I did send IRETA a note just so that she knew that, you know, that if she had anything that she wanted to share, and she did share that they've already been working on this. So that's good news for Isaac. Maybe he don't know that, you know, that they're already working on kind of what we've discussed this evening. So that's good news, right? But absent those comments, we're kind of we're grasping here. And I think out of respect for the program, what I'm hearing from Rona is that we wouldn't want to do anything that would undermine the director. Although sometimes we have done undermined things, but we always have good intentions. And so is there a motion that we're looking for here, or how would you like to proceed, council? Lorelei.
Madam Chair, if you can text with IRETA, it would be good if she had a contract extension submitted, and also requesting that Isaac get authority to hold meetings with all the tribal entities to get a communications plan together. That would be good. And then we could do a motion.
Okay. All right. Does that sound good, Isaac?
Yeah, and I just wanted to throw in there real quick one other thing. IRETA and Autumn, they've been nothing but support in this whole endeavor here, this whole thing, going through the whole thing. I mean, they've taken extra time and went to a couple trainings. They've went out and kind of researched some things on their own, and they brought back information and some great ideas. And I think as we go along, those two people are going to be pretty important people. They not only understand the system, but they also have a lot of great ideas of how to fix some things and put some things in place. And so those are some of the cool things. Is it's kind of like once they took a couple trainings, they're you start to understand the process, and you start to your little hamster starts going, you know. So I'm really glad that I'm able to work with those two. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm trying to jump out of chain of command or anything like that. So I understand what you're talking about, Rona, and all the things that are going on. So as we move forward, that's why I'm saying like, just constantly guidance, you know. So I just wanted to throw that in there. So
I was typing to you as to say, hey, they already said they're gonna approve it. It's really.
well, no, I didn't want to ruin anything, you know.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, we're on top of that. They're doing a good job with that. So, all right. So I think we're good, Isaac. I think we're good. But you being on was really helpful because you were able to kind of speak on your own behalf and explain to us. Sometimes we get the messaging mixed up, and we just want to make sure that you got to. So I'm all good. Are you guys all good? Okay. So we're gonna move on then. Isaac, are you? The next.
Okay. Enjoy the rest of the evening, guys.
Looking forward to seeing you continue working in this direction. The next item on the agenda this evening is the approval for Thanksgiving distribution of turkeys. In the email, you'll see that in the packet, you'll see that there's an email encouragement to place our order with Hy-Vee. The price is 69 cents a pound, and they'll be purchasing 812 turkeys, which is consistent with the numbers and the participation that we've seen from the membership. So is there a motion to approve for 2021 the Thanksgiving turkeys for 812? We have a motion by Louis. Do we have a second? We have a second by Rona. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 7-0-0. Thank you, council. Lorelei.
Madam Chair, I hope that the CEO, if she's here, can remind Human Services that they got plenty of time. It's still September to be planning for their Thanksgiving meal for the community this year. Last year, there was a pandemic and it had to come together really fast at the end. So hopefully they're already planning for the Thanksgiving meal they always do annually for the community. Just bringing that up. Thanks.
Thanks, Lorelei, for mentioning that. Yeah, we look forward to that every year. I think the community, the families that participate in the program, they're always happy to come together in fellowship with the program. And it seems like even they have a lot of volunteers at that time, and all the entities within the tribe come down and help out too. So I'm looking forward to that. Thanks, Lorelei. Okay, so we got that approval. The next one was the parent fan bus. I'm gonna call upon Councilman Chamberlain to talk about this. We had a request by email to add this, and I just didn't know if it was for a particular game or if Councilman wanted to talk about that. Calling on Brian. Brian, can you hear me? Okay, so what I'm thinking it's for, just by
yes, I'm here.
Hi, Brian. Do you want to talk about this?
Hi. Sure. I don't know why the delay on that when you press the unmute button, it just like takes a few seconds. But anyway, I was approached by a tribal member who's a parent. They were asking if there was interest in the tribe supporting a fan/parent bus for the football team in the away games. It's my understanding from this conversation that some of those games are at distance. And so the general question was, and I also sent an email to the council that I didn't get any replies to, are you guys interested in doing this or no?
Well, thanks, Brian, for adding it to the agenda. My initial thoughts are Logistically, I think we could probably get some quotes and to see what it would cost. Let's see, I got the schedule right here. So the football game, the cool thing is that our team is in a native all nations league, and that's with the other area tribes. The tribes that are a member of that conference are the Cheyenne, Eagle Butte, Flanju, Teospazina, Todd County, Red Cloud, Pine Ridge, St. Francis, Omaha Nation, and Winnebago. And so that's the varsity football. And so some of the games, let's see, where are we at here? September 20th. So the next game is a home game, that's Red Cloud, but October 1st, they'll be going to Pine Ridge. And then on October 8th, it's a home game. Omaha Nation, October 15th, they'll be going to perhaps Macy. All Nations quarterfinals and All Nations semifinals, location to be determined. Championship game, which I know we're going to be a part of, November 5th, is at the Dakota Dome away. So right away, we're looking at 3 games in Pine Ridge, Macy, and Dakota Dome that they'll be away, with the quarterfinals and semifinals locations to be determined. So I mentioned those things and thinking about, we did buses for state in Lincoln. That was really nice. People appreciated that. And we have to thank Winnebago for that sponsorship. And what I was saying about looking at logistics was because some of these games are a certain distance, and I don't know all the information on how long a driver could drive or if they would have to spend the night. So my feedback is it's not a no. I just want to make sure that we have the information in front of us before that. Any comments? Okay, we got Lorelei first, and then Rona.
Madam Chair, as always, we already approved the 2022 tribal budget. We haven't even closed out the fiscal year yet, which will be September 30th, but we've already approved a fiscal year 2022 budget. And I'm not sure how much money we even have that could go to this. Because first of all, we need to find out what is the cost, and then do we have the revenue? Because remember, we just got told that our casino took a hit from these mask mandates, which we just lifted. And we don't know how well we're gonna do this coming year. And we have to move the whole tribe forward. So I'm always cautious about saying, yeah, let's do something, which we'd like to do, but we have a whole tribe in our services to provide for a whole nother year. So I would say we need to find out what the cost would be for a fan bus. And then secondly, from our treasurer, do we have the revenue?
Thank you, Lorelei. Rona?
I agree with Lorelei on that whole thing. You know, where's the money going to be coming from? That was my first question. And is it 1 game, 2 game, 3 game? And are we going to be doing this for every sport? That's my question that is going to come about. You know, other parents are going to be wanting to go to basketball games. They can't drive themselves. Or we're going to be providing a bus all year long. Those are some questions and probably the logistics that Tori is talking about. So I think we need a little bit more planning and a little bit more information before we make a decision here. Thank you.
Thank you, Rona, for offering that. So my thoughts, I guess, to share would be that we could look at what some of these logistics look like and on what that would be, and maybe we start with what we know now. So we know there's a game at Pine Ridge, we know there's a game at Omaha Nation, and we know the championships at the Dakota Dome. I would be willing to work with Teresa to get some costs associated with these. And if we encounter any barriers. And so the barriers that I was thinking about would be if it would be a requirement to spend the night, and then would we get everybody a hotel room, or would they be responsible for their own? And so those are the kind of things that I'd be happy to look into. Brian, did you have anything that that was shared from the family or parents that would be more information?
Yes,
in the
the
schedule?
only, yes, the only thing that they added into that was, and I cannot vouch for this because as I wrote in the email, I did not contact them. But according to the parent, the discussion was held with representatives from the school, and it was partially represented, I should say, that the school would be willing to share a portion of whatever costs came forward from this project, if you will. What that is, and then to the points that were being made, I have no idea. The intent of my email was to see if there was, I guess, willingness or desire from the council to even look at this. And like I said, I didn't get anything back, so I took that as a no.
I may have overlooked your email. I did get a text from you, but I don't think I saw your email. So I apologize for overlooking that. The comment of support I have is that unfortunately, and this is kind of to some of the points made, that there are some sports that have a greater fan base than other ones, and it sometimes results in hurt feelings. We see some games where the house is packed, and other sports it's not that way. So I hear that from families as well. They want their child to be treated and encouraged and celebrated in the same way that others are. So I think those are all good points. But I guess the caveat I put to that is it's just kind of cool and exciting to be in an all Indian league with our relatives to the north and south. So I just say that much, and I'm willing to get the numbers for us.
No comment.
Eric?
I would be in agreement with a parent fan bus, but if it's gonna be if they're gonna have to stay the night anywhere, that would have to be predetermined for anyone that does take the bus to pay for their own hotel room. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Lorelai?
Madam Chair, if we remember now, once we set a precedent at this table, we got to consider everyone in the tribe. So we still have basketball coming up. We currently have volleyball with the girls. We have basketball, both girls and boys coming up. And if we're going to do this for football, are we going to do this for basketball and volleyball? We've got to think of the precedent. And do we have that revenue? Thank you.
Thank you, Lorelai, for thinking of those things. On this schedule, we've got cross country, junior high cross country, varsity football, JV football, junior high football, junior high volleyball, varsity volleyball, JV volleyball, girls golf, boys varsity basketball, JV, boys and girls. So anyway, it goes on and on, track, you guys know the deal. The other thought I have, just trying to get the bus going, is we're very fortunate that this is at the beginning of a new fiscal year. The one suggestion I would have is that we maybe look to our donation line item, but again, I guess we only put so much in there. So if this would consume, the whole tribal council's donation line item, then we wouldn't be able to do this and that down the line. So all good thoughts and comments. Is there a motion for me to bring back pricing for consideration?
I'll move that, Madam Chair.
We have a motion by Brian. Do we have a second? Second by Rona. I will bring this back as soon as we can gather the information, because if we do this at the treasurer's report, it probably would be unrealistic that there would be a fan bus for the first game. So I'll see how soon we can pull this together, and if we can pull it off, that's in about 10 days. There's a motion, I'll work hard on it. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yes.
So you're gonna come back with 2 games cost, but what about all the other sports? They're pricey.
So the motion was just,
in all their schedules.
okay,
I'm thinking of all the whole tribe, Madam Chair, not just football.
okay.
We have all our children.
Yes. The motion, Brian, I guess the question is the motion for varsity football, or what's the motion for?
Yes, I would consider that football only because that's the only parent that came forward. If every other parent wants to come forward, that responsibility is still on them.
Okay. So, Rona, do you stand with your second?
Just football? What, for me, it's gonna be seeing the pricing of just football. And it's probably gonna exceed what we have in our donation to be able to provide for all sports. So once we see what pricing is just for 1 football game or 2 football games, are we gonna be able to do 10 volleyball games? Are we gonna be able to do 10 basketball games? So that's what's gonna determine the vote for me once that pricing comes back to the table. So yes, so go ahead and just do the football, and that'll determine support or not later on.
Okay.
How are we gonna determine who gets on the bus?
We would have to work with the school on that criteria, because I to Louis' point, enforcement, who's going to enforce? I know when we did the state basketball game, our team here to be helpful, and it was a lot of last minute asks for people to be on standby for loading the bus and things like that, and then we didn't even talk about if they have to be vaccinated, so that'll be a whole nother discussion. So I'm happy to bring them the pricing back, Lorelei. I think that if this is something that the tribe starts doing, then maybe the other teams, everybody has to pick 1 game or 2 games, and we are starting something here by, if we fund this, and that maybe that's a good thing. So we have a motion on the table. We have a second. Any further discussion or comments?
Comment, Coley.
Hi, Coley.
Coley has a comment.
Yep, wait, we're ready for you.
Okay, thank you. I would totally support this. I brought it to the table the last championship game for football, and I would have to say that we would have to include volleyball and basketball and whatever else. And if you don't know, our kids are excelling in these sports. They're placing. They're really doing good, and they're stepping it up. It ain't all about sports, and student athletes, but athletes are really we're known out there now, just not in basketball. Look at our football program is 3-0 now, and they're winning their championship last year, and we can go at it now that we just look at it. We start working, we get those prices, and if the school's willing to go half, we look at the big picture, and whoever wants to crunch all those numbers, and then we look at that for all sports, all the way. And to also remember that's a commitment to go to a game. And the parents got to commit. The aunties and uncles, and grandmas, and chokas, they got it. It's a commitment. It's a big. It ain't just go to a game. It's work. And it's a big commitment, and some shy away from it, and I wish they wouldn't. They need to go support their kids. That would encourage them, encourage this, and also, we can install a fee to go with it. $5, $10 per person. and that saves what do you call it? Mileage on their vehicle, damage on their vehicles traveling to these away games. And so I totally support it. We just got a lot to look at, more to talk about, and for the future of these programs, athletic programs, and our students, more work, where we can just look at, say, right now, just championship games, to support the football team this year, and right now we're in volleyball and whatever. So I totally support it. We just need to. There's a lot of details, people can add in, fees and just think of the commitment just to go to a game. We need to think, and it's a benefit, and be surprised you might be shocked how many people really want to go to a game. But we encourage our family members to go support our children. We really do. That might help. Thanks.
Thanks, Coley, for those remarks. You're spot on tonight with your remarks, Coley. It's expensive to go to a game, and watching families and my family and relatives that are in sports, like these mothers and fathers are trying to feed everyone supper and then get their loved one to the game, or if they can't, then they're all eating at the game, and so it's pricey on our families. So I hope that we look at this as a service that we can provide to our tribal members, because it's going to bring a vibe, when our teams see a whole, blue on one side and they see everyone there, like it's going to make them feel good. So I think this is a good thing, and we could work through the logistics and figure out how to do it for everybody, and in an equitable way, that we're going to start something here. So we have a motion. In a second, any more comments before I call for the question? Lorelai.
Can you read the motion back?
Yep, there was a motion by Brian to direct the chair to bring back pricing for varsity football away games. Okay, call for the question. Any objection to the motion? Motion carried 7-0. Thank you, Council.
Madam Chair, John Snowball is not in the meeting, at least from what we can see. So would that be 6-0?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. All right, 6-0. All right, the next item on our agenda is number 6. The membership may have saw something on social media. We'll get more communication out. There was legislation passed in Nebraska that recognizes October 11th as Indigenous Peoples Day, and the Lincoln, the state government has been working with those representatives to put together a celebration with the tribes, and to have the 4 tribes flags, a dedication ceremony, and as well as some other exciting things. The Dr. Susan LaFleche statue will be unveiled and dedicated. And so there's a program coming together with the 4 tribes all having input and trying to find a way that they can contribute and highlight something about their tribe. And so we've had a call with the Nebraska Commission for Indian Affairs, and since then we've received a letter from Senator Brewer, who co-sponsored the bill. And so I'm coming to the council and looking for ideas and I guess concurrence with what we'd be able to provide and what we'd be able to financially support to make this happen. Some of the things that I had in mind was during the color guard, during the flag dedication ceremony, that we would have a drum group that would offer our flag song, and that we would support a color guard, as well as a exhibition dancing. Additionally, I thought that it would be nice to invite our powwow princesses, as they are stewards and a delegate of the tribe. And so what I thought would be nice would be to offer mileage, per diem, and an honorarium that would make sure that people had financial support to go down there, and also something that showed our appreciation for them sharing their gifts with us. So those are my thoughts. It's up for discussion, and I don't have a budget to present. It's just we got that letter on Friday afternoon, and the celebration is on October 11th. So wanting to be timely and responsible, I'm asking the council to consider passing a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to authorize yourself and your office to take all actions necessary to produce a budget that we can then come back and approve with the details.
Okay. We have a motion by Brian and we have a second by Louis. Discussion.
Discussion.
Eric?
I talked to the veterans, and they are interested in doing the color guard. And so I know there was an email about per diem and stuff like that that went out inquiring about that. So I sent that forth with the veterans, and so they're interested. But as this motion goes to increase budget to do that, take care of that, and once that gets taken care of, and then I'll get back with the veterans, and we're gonna start getting things more together for that. Get ready for that. And so I made a phone call to them this morning, and they're in agreement to go down there and take our color guard down as well. So I just want to bring the council's attention. Thank you.
Awesome. That is so great. Thank you, Eric. I had asked Eric as our councilman veteran if he would work with me to outreach to the veterans. So thank you, Eric, for taking care of that. And we will definitely make sure that we respect our post and that we take care of our veterans. So, Lorelai.
Madam Chair, can Brian and Louis also be authorized the chair to speak for the Winnebago tribe? At the event, the senators are asking for each of the chairs to speak. So,
absolutely.
Is their motion going to include the chairwoman authorized to speak for the Winnebago tribe at this event, this historic event?
When we actually have the budget information, I think we could probably do it at that point if it does get approved.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Lorelai, for mentioning that. All right, call for the question. Any objection to the motion? Motion carried 6-0-0. Thank you, council, and I'll work with the office to get that together. Next item is our executive session item, and is there a motion to go into executive session?
Make that motion.
We have a motion by Eric. Do we have a second?
Madam Chair, I'll second, but I have to leave the meeting for this.
Okay. Thank you. Motion by Eric. We have a second by Brian. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 6-0-0. We're going to enter executive session. We're going to click out of this link and into the new link. If there is no action, we will adjourn in the executive session.
Madam Chair, will you show me out at 6:59?